Folks, we've got two dangerous storms heading our way that could really mess up your Thanksgiving plans. These weather systems are gearing up to deliver some serious snow, a chance for strong tornadoes, and a blast of bone-chilling Arctic air. What makes this weather pattern so concerning is that all the key ingredients are coming together at exactly the same time. Two clashing air masses are going to collide multiple times, and each collision could bring very different results. We're talking about everything from strong tornadoes today to snow accumulations as high as 24 inches, right in time for Thanksgiving. This is weather we really need to keep a close eye on. Any shift in timing or location of the jet stream will have major impacts on who experiences severe weather, who gets hit with heavy snow, and where the biggest travel disruptions develop during the busiest travel week of the year. So in today's forecast, we're going to walk you through exactly how these storms will unfold and what you need to know before hitting the road this Thanksgiving. Let's start by talking about the jet stream, since this will control our weather pattern over the next couple of weeks. We'll begin with what's happening today and tomorrow. Right now, we have a major storm system sitting in the Central Plains. This storm is forecast to bring significant severe weather, including tornadoes, today and tomorrow, anywhere from Texas back into the Ohio Valley. So we're watching a large area, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Once we get to Tuesday, this storm system will move into the Ohio Valley, and an Alberta clipper will come down from Canada. That'll move into the northern plains on Tuesday. This is going to bring heavy snowfall across North Dakota, Minnesota, and even parts of Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula Tuesday through Thursday. So a major snowfall event is coming for the middle of this week. By Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, we're going to see a huge dip in the jet stream all across the northern plains, down into Texas and across the southeast. This is going to usher in tons of much colder air that will drop temperatures by as much as 20 to 30 degrees in some areas for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. On top of that, around this low-pressure system, we'll have very strong westerly winds that will increase our risk of lake-effect snow. This includes areas in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and some lake-effect snow around Lake Michigan as well. By the weekend, things get much more uncertain. However, we're forecasting a major storm system to impact the United States around Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. This could bring significant severe weather or a big winter storm, but there's quite a bit of uncertainty about exactly what impacts we'll see and exactly where they'll occur. The big picture is that we'll have storm activity along the West Coast during the first few days of December. This should bring multiple major storms to the United States over the first couple weeks of December. So get ready for an extremely active weather pattern to kick off meteorological winter. Now, we have two big topics to cover in this forecast. First is our temperature trend, and second are all the major storms coming over the next 10 days that will bring severe weather, snow, and plenty of other problems. I want to start with our temperature trend because this will set the stage for what's actually going to happen over the next 7 to 10 days. Right now, we have mostly above average temperatures across most of the country, but that will change dramatically. Because by Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to get a pretty intense blast of cold air moving across the Midwest, the Northern Plains, and the Northeast. This is going to set the stage for what happens over the next week or so. So right now we have mostly above average temperatures across most of the United States, but that's about to change in a big way because by Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to get a pretty intense shot of cold air that's going to move across the Midwest, the Northern Plains, and into the Northeast. Let me show you what I mean. Today, we have temperatures in the 50 seconds and 60 seconds, pretty much from Kansas all the way back into Ohio and Kentucky. But by Wednesday, those same areas will be seeing temperatures in the 20 seconds and 30 seconds. That's a temperature drop of 20 to 30 degrees in just a couple of days. And this cold air is going to stick around through the weekend. So if you're planning to travel for Thanksgiving, you're going to want to pack some warm clothes because it's going to feel like winter across much of the country. Now let's talk about the storms that are going to bring all this weather. The first storm system we need to discuss is the one that's already affecting us today and will continue through tomorrow. This storm has the potential to produce some serious severe weather, including tornadoes across parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana today. And then tomorrow, it'll move into the Tennessee Valley and parts of the Gulf Coast. We'll talk more about the severe weather threat in just a few minutes. The second storm system is what we call an Alberta clipper. This is a fast-moving storm that's going to come down from Canada and move through the northern states Tuesday through Thursday. This storm is going to be the main driver for that heavy snow I mentioned earlier across North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Some areas could see 12 to 24 inches of snow from this storm alone. And because this is happening right around Thanksgiving, it could cause major travel disruptions in those areas. The third storm system is the one I'm most concerned about for the long-term forecast. This is the storm that's likely to develop over the weekend into early next week. Now, there's still a lot of uncertainty about exactly what this storm will do and where it will track, but it has the potential to be a significant weather event for much of the country. It could bring more severe weather to the southern states, heavy snow to the northern states, or some combination of both. We're going to be watching this one very closely over the next few days, and we'll have more details as the forecast becomes clearer. Now, let's talk about the immediate threats for today and tomorrow, starting with the severe weather. Today, we have a slight risk of severe weather stretching from eastern Texas through Louisiana and Arkansas and into western Mississippi. The main threats today will be damaging winds, large hail up to the size of golf balls or larger, and isolated tornadoes. The tornado threat will be highest this afternoon and evening across eastern Texas and western Louisiana. While we're not expecting a major tornado outbreak, there is a possibility for a few strong tornadoes, especially if isolated supercells develop ahead of the main storm line. If you're in this area, make sure you have a way to receive weather warnings and know where your safe place is in case a tornado warning is issued. Tomorrow, the severe weather threat will shift eastward into parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. This will be a marginal risk day, which means the threat will be lower than today, but we could still see some damaging winds, hail up to the size of $50, and perhaps an isolated tornado or two. The timing for tomorrow's severe weather will be mainly during the late morning and early to mid-afternoon hours. Now let's talk about the snow forecast for this week. As I mentioned earlier, we're expecting significant snowfall across parts of the northern states Tuesday through Thursday. The heaviest snow is expected across North Dakota, northern and central Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Some of these areas could see 12 to 18 inches of snow, with isolated amounts up to 24 inches possible in the most favored locations. This is going to be a significant early season snowstorm for these areas, and it's coming at the worst possible time for Thanksgiving travel. If you're planning to drive through any of these areas, Wednesday or Thursday, I'd strongly recommend considering alternative travel plans, or at least delaying your departure until the storm passes. In addition to the heavy snow, we're also expecting strong winds with this system, which could lead to blowing and drifting snow and reduced visibility. This combination of heavy snow and strong winds could create blizzard conditions in some areas, making travel extremely dangerous or impossible. Now, as we head into Thursday and Friday, that cold air I mentioned earlier is really going to settle in across much of the country. We're talking about temperatures that will be 15 to 25 degrees below average for late November across much of the Midwest, Great Plains, and Northeast. High temperatures on Thanksgiving will only reach the 22nd and 32nd across much of the northern half of the country, with overnight lows dropping into the single digits and teens in many areas. Even areas that don't see snow are going to feel the impact of this cold air. Cities like Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo could see high temperatures on Thanksgiving that are 20 to 30 degrees colder than they were earlier this week. And the cold isn't just going to last for one day. This pattern looks to persist through the weekend and into early next week, so anyone with outdoor plans for the holiday weekend will want to bundle up. Now let's talk about lake effect snow. With all this cold air and strong westerly winds, we're going to see significant lake effect snow develop across the Great Lakes region Thursday and Friday. The areas most likely to see heavy lake effect snow include the Tug Hill region of New York, the Snow Belt areas, east and southeast of Cleveland, and parts of Michigan's lower and upper peninsulas. Some of these areas could pick up an additional 6 to 12 inches of snow from lake effect alone, which would be on top of any snow they receive from the main storm system. Lake effect snow can be particularly dangerous for travelers because it can develop very quickly. and create dramatic changes in driving conditions over very short distances. You could be driving in partly sunny skies one minute and find yourself in a whiteout the next minute. If you absolutely must travel through the Great Lakes region Thursday or Friday, make sure your vehicle is equipped for winter driving and that you have emergency supplies with you. Now, let's look ahead to that potential storm system for the weekend. As I mentioned earlier, there's still quite a bit of uncertainty about this system, but it has the potential to be another significant weather event. The computer models are showing a strong storm system developing in the central part of the country sometime Saturday or Sunday. Depending on exactly where this system tracks and how strong it becomes, it could bring another round of severe weather to the southern states, heavy snow to the northern states, or a mix of both. What we do know is that this system will be tapping into that same cold air mass that will already be in place across the northern states, which means there will be plenty of cold air available for snow production if this storm tracks through the right areas. We'll be watching the development of this system very closely over the next few days, and we'll have much better details about its impacts by later this week. But for now, if you have travel plans for the weekend, it would be wise to keep an eye on the latest forecasts and be prepared to potentially adjust your plans if necessary. Looking even further ahead, into the first week of December, the long-range models are suggesting that this active weather pattern will continue. We could see multiple storm systems affecting different parts of the country over the first 2 weeks of meteorological winter. This could mean more opportunities for severe weather in the southern states and more chances for significant snowfall in the northern states. While it's still too early to get into specifics about these potential future systems, the overall pattern suggests that we're in for a very active start to the winter season. Now, let's get back to the immediate threats and talk more specifically about the severe weather for today. We have a line of thunderstorms that's already producing severe weather across parts of Texas this morning. This line of storms will continue to move eastward throughout the day, affecting parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi by this afternoon and evening. The main threats with this line of storms will be damaging winds with gusts up to 70 miles per hour, large hail up to the size of golf balls, and embedded tornadoes. The tornado threat is somewhat conditional today, meaning it will largely depend on whether or not we see isolated supercells develop ahead of the main line of storms. If these discrete cells do develop, they could produce a few strong tornadoes. However, if the storms remain linear in nature, the tornado threat will be limited to brief, weak tornadoes embedded within the line. We're also watching for the possibility of very large hail with some of today's storms. A few of the stronger cells could produce hail up to the size of tennis balls, so make sure you protect your vehicles if you're in the threat area. One of the more notable concerns for today is that we have a 5% tornado risk in place, which is a bit elevated. This risk extends from western Mississippi back into eastern Texas, where there's a possibility for a few tornadoes. I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado or two today, but that's only going to happen if we have those discrete supercells out ahead of our main line of thunderstorms. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be very difficult for any strong tornado threat to actually develop. The Storm Prediction Center had mentioned in previous outlooks that a hatched area for tornadoes was possible, but there just isn't enough confidence right now. I still think that's the case. There's just not enough confidence regarding strong tornadoes at this time. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, we have a marginal threat of severe weather in place from southeastern Kentucky back into the deep south and lower Dixie Alley right along the Gulf Coast. It's a marginal risk, so it's a low-end day, but we'll still be watching for some damaging winds, maybe hail up to the size of $50, and perhaps an isolated tornado or two. The tornado threat will be mainly during the late morning and into the early to mid-afternoon hours across this region. Now, let's talk more about the timing of severe weather for the next couple of days, starting with today. A very intense line of thunderstorms is already moving through Dallas-Fort Worth this morning, and will also be approaching Waco later this morning. By lunchtime, we'll be watching for this line of storms to weaken just a little bit, and then we'll be watching for some discrete supercells to try to fire up around noon, just out in front of that line of thunderstorms. I don't think those are going to have much success. I think the better chance for anything to stay discreet will probably be closer to sunset tonight. If that doesn't happen, we're at least talking about a line of thunderstorms that'll continue to produce damaging winds, and a potential for a couple of tornadoes embedded in this line. By 8 to 9 o'clock, this line will continue to push eastward, across the Houston area and also moving towards central Louisiana. Going into the overnight hours, the line will be falling apart as it moves into Mississippi, Louisiana, and outside of Texas into the Gulf. Again, this is a very conditional threat today for tornadoes. I think it's really going to depend on any sort of discrete cells firing out in front of the line. If that doesn't happen, this tornado threat is going to be pretty minimal in my opinion. Keep in mind, there's a possibility of a live stream today, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified if we do go live. Tomorrow, the threat of severe weather will be mostly during the late morning and afternoon hours. We'll have plenty of storms out there stretching from southeastern Mississippi back into eastern Tennessee. This will mainly be a threat of wind and hail, but there could be a few of these storms that are spinning, just enough to the point where we could see a few brief tornadoes. By the evening hours, these storms will be moving into central Georgia and also the Florida Panhandle, where they'll be weakening. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We officially have a Black Friday sale going on at shopmaxvelocity.net. That's the top link in the description below. You can use the code Black Friday to get $5 off any order of $50 or more. We have our Happy Holidays merchandise out, as well as our Supercell collection and a ton of other awesome stuff. Make sure to check this out again at shopmaxvelocity.net. I really recommend, if you're going to get anything, make sure you buy it before the end of November so you get it delivered before Christmas. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you all again in the next video or live stream.